was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
That's not a rant from some internet conspiracy theorist. That's Jim Carrey on CBS right after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars. But here's the thing nobody understood at the time. He wasn't just mad about the slap.
I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it.
Then watch what happens. Years later, the Department of Justice dumps hundreds of pages of Epstein files, guest lists, emails, FBI tips, names, and suddenly Jim's warnings don't sound crazy anymore. They sound like a man trying to tell you something without getting buried for it.
Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
That's Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes, looking directly at a room full of people who flew on Epstein's planes, partied at his island, and showed up in those files. But here's what nobody is connecting. Jim Carrey wasn't just calling Hollywood spineless. He was naming Oprah without naming her. He was describing a system that protects certain people no matter what. And the one person standing next to him, refusing to let him be completely erased? Keanu Reeves, the nicest guy in Hollywood, quietly telling this industry that Jim knows something they can't afford to have exposed. This is that story. Most people remember the 2022 Oscars for one moment. Will Smith walked on stage and slapped Chris Rock. The whole thing was bizarre, raw, unexpected, and the industry's response was even more bizarre. They gave Will a standing ovation.
I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
When Jim Carrey said that on CBS, most people thought he was overreacting. One slap, one standing ovation, and suddenly this rubber-faced comedian was calling the entire industry spineless? But you have to understand where Jim was coming from. He'd been watching this exact pattern play out for decades. The same industry that gave standing ovations to Roman Polanski and Harvey Weinstein, the same industry that protected certain people no matter what came out, the same industry that had been whispering about Epstein's parties for years, the freak-offs, the island, the private planes, while publicly pretending none of it was real.
You do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
Jim wasn't just upset about violence. He was upset because he saw something in that moment, the machine protecting its own. The standing ovation was the machine at work. It wasn't about defending Will Smith. It was about maintaining control. It was about saying, we handle this, not you. We decide what's acceptable, and we decide when you're allowed to be mad about it. And that's when Jim stopped playing along. But Jim's disgust with Hollywood didn't start at the Oscars. It started years earlier. Years of watching the machine work. Years of seeing the pattern repeat. And when he finally had a camera in his face, he started dropping hints. Not conspiracy rants, hints.
I'm telling you, kids, don't come to Hollywood. I'm serious.
Your cameras.
The media, man, it is one hell of an entity. It really can have you thinking that the bad people are good and the good people are bad.
Think about what he's actually saying. He's not just complaining about fame. He's saying the entire machinery of Hollywood is designed to flip reality, to make you worship the wrong people, to keep you from seeing what's really happening. And who does that machinery protect most fiercely? Not the billionaire moguls, not the guys with the freak-off parties, but the ones who smile the best. The billionaire mogul, that's Diddy. The talk show queen, that's Oprah. But Jim doesn't name them directly. He can't. Not yet. What he does instead is something smarter. He tells you exactly who to be afraid of, and he tells you exactly where to look. When he goes on Kimmel, he doesn't just make jokes. He performs.
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is.
He's mocking the hand symbols, the secret language of elite circles, but he's doing it on late-night TV in front of millions of people, and then he tells you why.
For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
People laughed. The audience clapped. Kimmel played along like it was just Jim being weird again. But underneath that performance, Jim was making a statement. He was saying the people who entertain you are controlled. The system is rigged. And I'm done pretending. And here's the part that matters. After years of these warnings, after the jokes and the interviews and the carefully coded language, something massive happens. The Epstein files get released. To understand why the Epstein files matter so much, you have to understand what Jim and other insiders were actually describing. They weren't talking about random corruption. They were talking about a system, a machine that identifies promising people, brings them into exclusive circles, and then conditions them. Listen to how Cat Williams describes it.
In business, nothing is coincidental, or you will be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they killed this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits. Wow. And they had some people from your city do it.
It's not chaos, it's choreography. The same people at every party, the same protection when trouble comes, the same silence when victims speak. And there's a test, an initiation, something designed to separate those who will play along from those who might cause problems. Dave Chappelle experienced it firsthand.
I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here. They come in, the writer comes in, I think he's the writer, he's like, Dave, listen, we got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail. So he disguises you as and he put this dress on, and what? Nah, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with it.
When Dave refused, what happened? The pressure intensified. Producer after producer came in. Every minute you waste costs this much money. The implication was clear. Do what we ask or you're difficult. You're unreliable. You don't fit the system.
All the greats have done it. So, well, if all the greats have done it, it's kind of hacky, right? You're right. So why don't we just not do it? Because I don't feel comfortable wearing a dress.
But here's the trap. Once you refuse, once you push back, the system has a contingency. Dave pushed back, and suddenly a completely new scene appeared. In 10 minutes, the writers had a replacement. The whole thing was preloaded.
Damn, how did you write the scene so fast?
It's not random. That means the humiliation was never about the story. It was a test, a way to see if you'll say yes to the weird request. Because if you will, you're in. You're complicit, and once you're complicit, they own you. Mel Gibson calls it something specific, the social contract.
You can't get mad. You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for.
You will be betrayed, you will be used, you will be hurt, and you're not allowed to be angry about it. That's the contract.
I have felt the knife slipped firmly in between my shoulder blades and tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart. And I've actually felt the whole thing, and I've gone, ah! You know,
this isn't one person's story. This is how the entire system works. Identify who's willing to say yes, condition them, use them, and when they were no longer useful, protect the ones who stayed silent while getting rid of the ones who might talk. That's exactly what Jim was describing when he talked about the red carpet, the parties, the fake charity events. Now here's where it gets specific, because while Jim was calling Hollywood spineless, there was one person he was really talking about. Oprah Winfrey. Not because she threw parties with Epstein, not because she was on flight logs, but because of something worse, because she was protected, because she built an untouchable image. And because when darkness surfaced around her, the machine protected her anyway. Let's start with her school in South Africa. In 2007, Oprah opened a $40 million boarding academy. 152 girls, handpicked by Oprah herself. And within months, scandals started.
Well, Oprah built this $40 million school in South Africa, and they had 152 students attend. Oprah actually handpicked the 152 students who attended her school, but it wasn't long until some of these students were being harmed by one of the employees of the school. Her name is Virginia, and she was 27 years old at the time, and she was charged with 13 counts of getting inappropriate with the kids.
One employee harming multiple girls. But that wasn't the only incident. Less than 2 years later, more problems.
7 students were suspended from the school, and these girls were alleged to have been intimidating others into partaking in inappropriate behaviors. A letter sent to one of the suspended girls' parents reportedly read, "You have been found guilty of physical contact of an intimate nature with another person on campus, bullying of other girls on campus, and of being dishonest by not telling investigators the whole truth."
So Oprah's school, filled with girls she handpicked, is rocked by repeated scandals. And what happens? She shows up at the school once to fix things, and then what? The problems continue. But here's the part that connects to Jim's warning. While Oprah was dealing with these scandals, she was also very close to Harvey Weinstein.
Oprah and Harvey have been friends for over 2 decades. A lot of people use the argument that she didn't know about what he was doing, but that's impossible because everyone's known about Harvey Weinstein's reputation ever since the 90s.
And when Harvey finally got exposed,
when he was getting canceled and exposed for everything that he has done, Oprah allegedly called him and offered her support.
Think about that. While women were coming forward with criminal allegations against Harvey Weinstein, Oprah, who presents herself as a champion of women, allegedly called him to offer support. That's the social contract. That's the machine protecting its own. But Oprah didn't stop there. She distanced herself just enough to look innocent. She showed sympathy to victims publicly while maintaining connections privately. And then, when the Epstein files finally got released, her name was nowhere in them because she was careful, because the machine protected her, because she is part of the machine. Here's what happens when the DOJ finally dumps the Epstein files. Suddenly, all those vague warnings from Jim and Ricky and others start to make sense because the files don't just name Epstein. They show the entire ecosystem he operated in. The parties, the guest lists, the celebrity names, the model names, the billionaire names, all of them orbiting the same circles. Naomi Campbell shows up more than 200 times. When the files came out, Naomi did what the system always teaches people to do. She got in front of a camera and pretended she didn't understand the scope of what she was part of.
Yes, I knew him. I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend Flavio. He was always front and center at Victoria's Secret shows.
Did you suspect what he was doing?
No. And what he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach just like everybody else.
The same language Jim used, sickened. But Naomi's problem was that the timeline didn't match the story. The files showed Epstein still in her circle after his 2008 conviction, after he was on the sex offender registry, and the machine's response was to hope everyone would forget quickly enough. Then there's Blake Lively, a woman marketed to you as the safe one, the mom, the protector of children, and yet her name appears in invitation lists for Epstein events.
Blake Lively's name, guys, appears amongst a list of individuals inviting Epstein to this must-see celebration and party after he was convicted. Now, if you look at this email, you can see that Blake Lively obviously isn't the only person that was listed, but at the same time, everybody knew that he was an offender at this moment of time.
And when the Weinstein scandals broke, Blake's response was to protect herself, not the victims.
Where I never had experiences like this with Harvey myself. I only had positive ones with him, but that's but that goes to show where, you know, you don't always see what's going on behind closed doors. So I think that when people come forward, that your bosses, you have to acknowledge it. You know, there have been moments where I've come forward, where other people have come forward with things that just feel little and you're not sure. But when your bosses tell you that this is not a priority to them, then you think, okay, well then this must not be that big of a deal.
Translation: I was friends with a predator. I benefited from his support. And now that he's being exposed, I have to protect my image. That's the system. That's the social contract. Even billionaires show up in those files. Elon Musk has emails planning visits to Epstein's island.
What day, night will be the wildest party on your island?
And when asked about it later, Musk claimed he declined the invitation, but his own daughter contradicted him publicly.
I'm going to speak directly. Her name is Vivian Jenna Wilson. I'm going to speak directly instead of being vague and cryptic. I can confirm We were in St. Bart's at the time specified in the emails, and therefore I believe they are authentic. This has basically already been confirmed through his attempts to paint them as out of context.
Even America's dad, Tom Hanks, has his name mentioned in an FBI tip about Epstein's network. And here's what's telling. Listen to how he talks about predatory behavior in Hollywood.
I think there was knowledge amongst a certain group of people, mostly who did business with Harvey Weinstein. I think in an awful lot of the dialogue that I've read that come out, there are countless women who understood that that's what happened, and there were many people who said, well, that's just Harvey being Harvey.
Well, that's the question. Is it how serious is it? Is it about one person, one man, or is it a culture?
You and I, and even the likes of the people on the Turner Classic Movies, constantly understand that the idea of the casting couch that existed in Hollywood is the part of both myth and concrete reality.
He sounds knowledgeable, concerned, like he's on the side of the victims. But he's also someone whose name appears in government documents connected to Epstein's network, and that's the game. Sound thoughtful, sound concerned, but stay connected to the people who actually run things. This is what Jim was warning you about, not just individual bad actors. A system that protects certain people, uses certain people, and discards everyone else. While all of this is happening, while Jim is putting pieces together on camera and the industry is trying to bury him, something remarkable happens. Keanu Reeves steps next to him, not loudly, not with accusations or exposés, just by standing there, by refusing to play the game.
Keanu Reeves must be one of the nicest, coolest people on the planet, because no one has a bad word to say about that guy, ever. He might be what we should all aspire to be. We should all aspire to be.
No one has a bad word to say about Keanu. Why? Because he doesn't participate in the system. He gives money to stunt teams. He takes pay cuts so crews get paid. He rides the subway alone. He doesn't demand special treatment. And most importantly, when the industry tries to get him to distance himself from difficult people, he doesn't. When Jim Carey is being mocked as unstable and unreliable, Keanu is asked about him in public. And what does he say?
Well, he's very kind and he's very generous. And it speaks to his beautiful heart. And the man is a creative genius, right? He's a genius. And in this film, he's even more genius. He's double genius.
That's not a safe answer. That's a deliberate choice. Keanu is using his credibility, his status as the most beloved actor in Hollywood, to tell the industry, Jim Carey is not crazy. He's a genius. He's my friend, and I won't let you erase him. And according to rumors circulating in insider circles, Keanu has done something even more significant. He supposedly sent messages to industry power players, warning them to leave Jim alone, that Keanu knows what Jim is trying to expose, that Jim is speaking truth, and that trying to silence him would be a mistake. Whether those rumors are true or not, the message is clear. When Jim stands up and calls Hollywood spineless, when he warns kids away from the machine, when he jokes about Illuminati symbols and secret societies, Keanu is standing next to him, quietly, calmly, but unmistakably. And in an industry built on fear, that's everything. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Jim Carey looks less like a crazy comedian and more like a whistleblower every single day, because everything he warned about is being confirmed by documents the government released. He said Hollywood protects itself. The files prove it. He said the parties are where the real power gets decided. The files prove it. He said celebrities are used and discarded. The files prove it. He said some people are untouchable. The files prove it. And Keanu knows it. That's why he stands beside him. This is a man who could work with anyone, who has turned down franchises worth billions of dollars to maintain his integrity, who built a reputation on saying no to compromises that would destroy his soul. And he's choosing to stake his credibility on Jim Carey. That's not a mistake. That's a message. The message is, I know what this industry really is. I've seen it from the inside. I've turned it down, and I'm not going to let them bury the one person willing to say it out loud. Rumors say Keanu has privately warned Jim that he's said too much. Not because Keanu disagrees, but because Keanu knows exactly how the machine reacts. He knows the blacklists. He knows the smear campaigns. He knows how they try to isolate you, make you look unstable, turn your warnings into punchlines. And Keanu is telling Jim, you're right, but be careful, because that's the other part of the system. It doesn't just protect the guilty, it destroys the accusers. So here's what we have. Jim Carey, a man who was inside this machine, who made billions for it, who could have stayed silent and comfortable. Instead, he looked at a standing ovation for Will Smith and decided he was done. He started warning kids. He started mocking the symbols. He started saying the quiet part out loud. And the industry's response? Try to make him look crazy. Dismiss his warnings as conspiracy nonsense. Wait for the moment to pass. But then the Epstein files come out, and suddenly every joke makes sense. Every warning has receipts. Every coded message becomes clear. Oprah, who presents herself as untouchable, who survived scandals that would destroy anyone else, who was friends with Harvey Weinstein, who ran a school rocked by repeated assaults. She becomes a symbol of the system's true nature, not because she was the worst, but because she was protected anyway. And Keanu, a man who has quietly refused to become part of the inner circle, who walks away from easy franchise money, who is loved by everyone because he never had to hurt anyone to stay powerful. He's telling you something with his refusal to distance himself from Jim. He's saying, this is true, all of it, I've seen it, and I won't be part of the cover-up. The question isn't whether Jim knows something, he does. The question isn't whether Oprah benefited from the system. She did. The question is, how many more names are in those files? How many more celebrities are going to show up in the next release? And how long can the industry keep the machine running now that we can all see the gears? Jim Carey couldn't get buried because Keanu Reeves wouldn't let him. And that matters more than any confession ever could. Because in an industry built on silence, an alliance between a loud truth teller and a quiet truth keeper is the most dangerous thing possible. If you want to understand why Hollywood is terrified of Jim Carey, stop looking at his words and start looking at his company. He's got the nicest guy in Hollywood standing next to him, and they both know too much. If you like this video, hit subscribe. And until then, keep it real.